Decisions that define destiny, leadership, responsibility, and the bravery to choose wisely. Written by Professor Paul, Me Foundation. Monthly lecture, Series 30, February 19, 2026. Every life, every institution, and every nation is shaped by decisions. Long before success becomes visible, and long before failure becomes undeniable, decisions quietly lay the foundation. They determine direction, define priorities, and reveal character. When we say that decision-making sets the stage for success or failure, we are acknowledging a profound truth. Outcomes do not happen by accident. They are born from choices, carefully considered or carelessly made. Leadership is not tested in moments of comfort. It is tested in moments of choice. A leader may possess charisma, knowledge, and authority, but it is the quality of decisions that ultimately determines impact. One wise decision can preserve an institution for generations. One reckless decision can undo decades of progress. In organizations, families, and governments, decisions are the turning points between growth and decline, trust and suspicion, integrity and collapse. Scholars have long studied this reality. Contingency theory teaches that there is no single perfect leadership style. The effectiveness of a decision depends on the situation. A decision that works in one environment may fail in another. A participative approach may inspire creativity in a stable setting, yet during crisis, decisive and direct leadership may be necessary. This reminds us that wisdom is not only about what decision to make, but when and how to make it. Context matters. Timing matters. Sensitivity to environment matters. Yet even when leaders intend to make rational decisions, they are human. Herbert Simon described what he called bounded rationality, the idea that our decisions are limited by the information we have, the time available, and our own cognitive capacity. We rarely operate with perfect knowledge. We decide under pressure. We decide with incomplete facts. We decide while managing emotions. This human limitation explains why intelligent people sometimes make disastrous choices. It is not always ignorance. Sometimes it is limitation. Behavioral research by Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky further shows that human beings are not naturally objective when dealing with risk. We fear loss more than we value gain. Under pressure, leaders may take irrational risks simply to avoid perceived failure. Fear can distort judgment. Pride can blind insight. Ego can silence wise counsel. When emotion overrides discernment, decisions begin to drift away from wisdom. This is why ethical grounding is essential. A technically sound decision that lacks moral integrity can destroy trust. Short-term gains achieved through unethical choices often create long-term damage. History repeatedly demonstrates that corruption rarely begins with grand criminal schemes. It begins with small compromises, decisions justified in the moment but corrosive over time. Ethical decay is gradual. It is a series of unchallenged choices that slowly normalize wrongdoing. For this reason, valid decision-making must follow deliberate stages. First, the problem must be clearly identified. Leaders often treat symptoms instead of root causes. Without clarity, even well-intentioned solutions will fail. Second, context must be carefully analyzed. What are the environmental pressures? What cultural factors are influencing behavior? What risks are hidden beneath the surface? Third, information must be gathered from diverse and credible sources. Wise leaders do not surround themselves with echoes of their own opinions. They invite dissent. They welcome uncomfortable truths. Next comes ethical evaluation. Every major decision should provoke honest questions. Who benefits? Who may be harmed? Does this align with our values? Is this decision just? Then comes risk assessment. What are the long-term implications? What unintended consequences might arise? After careful evaluation, the decision must be selected with courage. Indecision can be as damaging as poor decision. Once chosen, the plan must be implemented with clarity and accountability. Finally, leaders must monitor outcomes and remain willing to adjust. Reflection is not weakness, it is strength. Yet beyond analysis, beyond models and frameworks, there is another dimension that cannot be ignored: faith. For leaders who believe in a higher moral order, decision-making is not merely strategic, it is spiritual. Faith introduces humility. It reminds leaders that authority is stewardship. It reinforces accountability beyond public opinion. Divine guidance does not eliminate rational thinking, it deepens it. Prayer, reflection, and moral introspection quiet the noise of ego and create space for wisdom. When leaders seek divine guidance, they examine their motives. Are they driven by service or self-preservation? By truth or popularity? By long-term impact or short-term applause? Faith calls leaders to align their decisions with righteousness, justice, and compassion. It challenges them to consider not only what is profitable, but what is right. Some of history's most admired leaders were not perfect strategists. They were morally anchored individuals. Their strength came from inner conviction. They understood that leadership is not about control, it is about responsibility. They recognized that decisions affect real people, real families, real futures. The truth is this: every day we stand at crossroads. Some decisions appear small, almost insignificant. Yet small choices accumulate. They shape culture. They define reputation. They build or erode trust. Success is rarely the result of one dramatic action. It is the outcome of consistent, wise decisions made over time. Failure is rarely sudden. It is the final chapter of ignored warnings and repeated misjudgments. Therefore, decision-making must never be casual. It must be intentional, ethical, and prayerfully considered. Leaders must cultivate emotional intelligence, intellectual discipline, and spiritual depth. They must resist fear, reject arrogance, and embrace accountability. In the end, destiny is not written by chance. It is shaped by choices. When reason is guided by ethics, when strategy is strengthened by context, and when action is grounded in faith, decisions become instruments of transformation. And when leaders choose wisely, not only for themselves but for those they serve, they do more than succeed. They build legacies that endure. Courtesy of Me Foundation, committed to human capacity building worldwide. Just a voice of reasoning in a complex dispensation. Thank you for listening. Please share to inspire others.